do some gardening today. Actually, no, I'm kidding. It's still freezing out here. So we aren't going to be doing any planting, but we are going to do some planting so you can get your garden and your flowers ready for the spring. Hi. So I decided to come inside and sit by my fireplace to finish talking to you about how to get ready for your garden this spring. So since it's really just the beginning of March and there's still quite a bit of snow on the ground, you really aren't going to be out in the garden doing things, but I started a flower journal last year so that I can kind of be prepared for when this season comes. And mine's kind of a fancy, fun little, what you might call an art journal, but you can do however you want. But what I have in my journal is pictures of what my garden looked like the last few years and what I've liked about it, because my biggest problem when I show up, you know, Mother's Day weekend-ish, when you're starting to go to the greenhouses, and I'm going to pick up the annuals, so I'm going to pick up the flowers that I plant every year, I kind of go deer in the headlights when I get there. Like, I don't remember how many baskets I have. I forget that my flower boxes kind of have 2 sets of boxes per window. So anyhow, I get there and I always forget about 1 or 2 of my planters, so I have to go back repeatedly. So I started this last year so that I could keep track of the plants that I like, and so I've actually kept, you know, their little information cards that come in there. I have photos of things that have worked. I have pictures of plants that lasted a really long time. Like a couple of these plants were still green last November. And then what I've done is I've started a little shopping list for next year so that I know, or for this year now, so that I know exactly what it is that I want to buy when I show up those greenhouses. I also have information about my window boxes. So my other page was mainly like my planters. This is my window boxes. And I do have a picture of a few plants that I really, really like and where I purchased them. Because there are certain flowers that I want to get every year. And some of the flowers have done better from a different greenhouse. So I actually write down what greenhouse I got them at. And that's the other thing, is I actually go and use local greenhouses, and I really like to support the local instead of some of the big box stores. These are just some ideas that I want to do in a following year, and then we're starting a garden area up front that is going to be very sunny, and so I'm looking for flowers and plants that do well in the sun. So that is kind of the basic of my journal. Again, yours could be very simple, with the different areas that you're going to plant and the different flowers you want. It doesn't have to have all the pretty decoration, but I like to color. So, and I, again, just keep in mind, I made lists of things to not forget. Like, what did I like about my planter last year so that I remember to get those plants again, but also kind of what was the basics, you know, like someone had told me in a planter you need a thriller, a spiller, and a filler. And so that is something to keep in mind when you're doing planter boxes of what's my thriller. So that's going to be the, you know, those flowers that I was talking about that I really, really like. What's going to be my spiller? So, you know, if you're doing a box, a planter, you want something that kind of flows over the edge. And then what's my filler? And I like, I think it's called, Snow Princess. Snow Princess is my filler. Some of those greens that I showed you are my fillers. Remember, you can go to my Facebook page or my website, AnnetteHetrick.com, and look for all of the Wednesdays with Wade. He's going to be having an herb Wednesdays with Wade coming up soon. We do plant some of our own. Some of them come up on their own. They're considered perennials. And also look for his Wednesday with Wade on how to lay out your landscape area. He's got some really easy tips and tricks to give your garden area some dimension, so it's not just straight lines, and kind of an easy way to figure out how to get that done. So again, my website, AnnetteHetrick.com, and you're looking for Wednesdays with Wade. Other things that I've written in my journal, and I actually have an event scheduled on my actual phone, on my calendar, is last year my hydrangeas are about ready to take over the world. They might actually eat my shed if I don't thin them this year. So I actually put an event on my phone so that I remember to thin them. And I also took photos of what the hydrangea areas looked like, so I kind of know where I want to thin. So that's just something else to kind of pre-plan. You know, you're going to be looking and taking photos at the end of the season this year so that you can start to plan for next year. So the other thing I recommend you doing is maybe ordering some seed catalogs. You know, one thing, keep in mind of what zone we live in, okay? I grew up on a farm. We raised a ton of fruits and vegetables. Didn't do a lot of flower gardening, but obviously I understood that, you know, certain plants aren't going to grow in our part of the world. So just keep that in mind. You know, some of the perennials that other parts of the world can get every year, so a plant that comes up every year, we aren't going to get that. I want flowers that do really well in my area is very shady. You know, that's something else you could kind of start to look at right now. Like, what times of day does that part of my yard get sun, and how many hours a day? Because those are things that are actually listed on the flower cards when you look at their little things that they poke inside. It'll tell you right on here, like, it likes full sun. It wants sun for 6 hours. It can live in the shade. So taking note of the different areas that you want some flowering plants, and the sun and the shade mix is going to help you as well. So anyhow, I hope this helps. I hope you can start to plan for your garden, even though we'll probably have one more snowfall. But I hope this helps. I hope you can plan for your garden. And, you know, reach out if you have any questions, or if you don't have a yard that has a nice garden and you want to create one because you maybe want to buy a new house with a better garden, go ahead and give me a call. Annette Hetrick, Acre Realty.